Hey all, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our unboxing and first impressions look at the CUBOT X18 Plus. This is a budget/mid-end smartphone that is priced at under $200, making it a competitor to the likes of the Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus and other kind of newer 18:9 aspect ratio phones that offer pretty good value as well as performance for the price. It's an unlocked phone that, like the Redmi 5 Plus, has a full HD plus resolution, 4 gigs of built-in RAM, 64 gigs of built-in storage, and a 20-megapixel primary sensor, and perhaps most impressively, promises Android 8.0 Oreo right out of the box, which is the newest version of Android, and if it's a stock experience, again, it's rather impressive considering the Redmi 5 Plus and many of the other phones that we've checked out recently only have Android 7.0. I haven't checked out any of their past products, so I'm eager to see how it performs and stacks up. CUBOT is known primarily for budget-oriented phones. Haven't really seen a flagship from them yet, so perhaps in the future. CUBOT is primarily known for making budget-oriented smartphones, so we haven't seen a flagship-level device from them just yet. And back in December, the prototype of the X18 Plus looked completely different to what we have here. This is actually a plastic phone, so it's one of the few remaining smartphones, even from Shenzhen, that's still using polycarbonate, as more and more manufacturers tend to gravitate towards metal on their mid-end and flagship-level devices. But it's pretty typical for CUBOT. It seems like their other phones also employ a very similar kind of build. Quick start guide that says keep in touch. Shows off some of the various features. And over here we should probably just see the charging cable, which has a flat ribbon wire, pretty nice. It is using micro USB and not USB Type-C, which is a little bit disappointing, but then again the Redmi 5 Plus is also using USB Type-C. Hopefully we'll be seeing more USB Type-C in the future though, and there's also the quick charger. Alright, so setting this off to the side, obviously we have a TPU case attached and it says demo on top of it, but again this is pretty much the finished version of the phone that is scheduled for shipment in the next few weeks. So as we peel this off, there seems to be a protective layer. It says it has a undetachable battery, so it's built on in. This does not have a removable back cover, so it's a unibody finish even though it is made out of plastic. So a little bit reminiscent of something like the iPhone 3G or 3GS back when Apple used kind of this glossy piano black surface. It definitely still looks pretty elegant, but not quite as premium to the touch as glass or aluminum, of course. With that being said, that's an area where CUBOT were able to cut costs and produce a phone with pretty nice specs, again, for the price. The side here gives you access to a power key. Let's try tapping on this for a few seconds. And there's also the volume rocker on the edge here. The back here features that dual lens setup, 2 megapixels, 20 megapixels, dual tone LED flash, and a biometric fingerprint scanner. Very basic information. It does attract quite a bit of fingerprints. The bottom here features a speaker, micro USB for charging, and on the other side we just have the SIM card tray, which is a hybrid SIM. The top has a traditional 3.5mm headphone jack, which is always nice to see, and on top here we do have the 18:9 aspect ratio full HD plus display, which seems to actually get fairly bright on first impressions and has decent viewing angles as well. Now we're setting up the fingerprint scanner, and the touchscreen actually seems to be quite responsive, and when I typed in some quick Wi-Fi information and named the phone a few moments ago, I was pretty satisfied with the responsiveness of the display. Obviously we also have a pretty large and generous screen as a phablet for typing, so keys are large enough. And we're going to tap on done. It adds, I suppose, up to 5 fingerprints. We're just going to skip some of these things and simply tap on agree, all set. Alright, so as we wait for the phone to boot up for the first time, you can see that the bezels are also very much respectable, especially on the left and right. They're actually pretty small. The top and bottom chins are present, but also very much minimized. In fact, it definitely looks like a flagship level phone, something like the LG G6, for instance, maybe even the OnePlus 5T. Here is the Redmi 5 Plus, which again would be a very close competitor to it, and you can tell how they are very, very similar in terms of overall dimensions, also very similar in terms of bezels. In fact, the X18 Plus seems to have smaller bezels than on the Xiaomi, so that's really nice from CUBOT. So more screen to body ratio, I suppose, but it has this plastic back as opposed to aluminum. And Android 8.0, a very much vanilla experience out of the box with no pre-included bloatware at all. There's all the standard Google utilities that you see here, and there's even the swipe up to have access to all of our apps, just like on the Google Now launcher or on the Pixel phones, which is a very nice addition. We are indeed running on Android 8.0 Oreo. as we can see here. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on first impressions / unboxing of the CUBOT X18 Plus, and we'll have to test it out more to see whether it can really hold up against other competitors in this space, which there are an increasing number, whether it's from Xiaomi or from the number of new smartphones released in MWC Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, Spain in the last few days, from Asus, Alcatel, Sony, Nokia, among other Chinese phones. So this does seem to be a pretty crowded space right now for mid-end smartphones. As far as first impressions go, I would say that the CUBOT does seem to deliver a pretty nice display as well as fairly powerful specs considering its relatively low price. So be sure to stay tuned for our full review coming out soon, but this has been the CUBOT X18 Plus. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.